Today we've got this lovely BMW M4 in for a club sport package. The car is totally standard, no mods whatsoever. The customer bought the car, had it about 3 days and gave us a call straight away and said, I want to bring the car down, I need to get the car ready for Nürburgring, we're off in a few weeks, what can you do? So we've opted for some 2 forged lightweight wheels. These are 18s rather than the factory 19-inch wheels. These give you much lower ground clearance, they're much lighter. We've gone for Nankang CRS semi-slicks on this setup. This means the guy can use it round ring, do whatever he wants to do. He drive around in the local town because they're also road legal, but then again, you've got one of the best compounds for track. Suspension-wise, we've gone for the BC Racing ZX series. These are the top of the range coilover that BC sell for this car. They've got the external reservoirs, and we've also gone for the true rear coilover setup, which means the spring actually sits on the shock absorber rather than the separate shock and spring setup the car has from factory. We've gone for the hard race rear tow arms. These give you much more tow adjustment for the rear, so you can get a much better geo setup for track. We've got here the lockout kit for the rear tow arm, so it locks the original tow adjustment on the original bolts, because all the adjustment we've got is now on these arms. We've got the Milway front bearing, which are the bushes. They replaced the front rubber bushes on the front control arms, which are always perished, and replaced them for a bearing style. They're much tighter, so you get much better driver feedback. So we've got rid of the original wheel nuts, and we're going to go for some stud and nut conversions. This makes it much easier to take your wheels off, because the customer's also going to be driving to ring on his stock wheels, so he can slip them straight on and off for the stud and nut conversion. We've gone for the endless brake pads, which are a very good option for track. They're a very high-end pad. You suffer very little brake fade, and they can still be used on the car if you wanted to as a road car with no issues at all. We've got the Motul RBF 660 brake fluid. This is a racing brake fluid, so your boiling temperature is much higher. You're very unlikely to boil your brakes with something like this in the brake fluid system. We've got hell braided brake lines, which gets rid of the original rubber brake lines, and you get braided ones, so they're much stronger. You get much stiffer pedal feel, much less brake pedal travel. We've got an Apple CarPlay module, nothing to do with the race car, but the customer wanted an Apple CarPlay fitted to the car so he can get his maps and all his music up. Reliability wise, we need this car to be reliable as well as fast. As you probably know, the S55's got the crank hub problem where they spin the crank hub. We've gone for the insane 4-pin crank hub kit, so this completely eliminates that problem. We have to take the original crank hub out, replace it, drill the crank, and this completely sorts that problem. The ACL rod bearings for the bottom end. They do suffer, not so much on the S55, but they suffer on the N55. It's the same engine, just with another oil pump, but we have seen them suffer on these engines. So we're putting the ACL race bearings in, new rod bolts, sump gasket, Vanos bolts. The whole top end and bottom end will pretty much be refreshed. Right, enough talking, let's get into the build. Right, here we have the original S55 M55 crank hub. This is the issue that everyone hears about. This is the main hub that bolts to the front of the crankshaft. This is the sprocket that runs your main timing chain. There's another one that sits behind it that runs the oil pump chain. And the way these work is you do this bolt up at the front, or from factory, this is done up to a ridiculous amount of torque to clamp this whole thing together. On stage 2 and bigger power cars, what will happen is, especially in the DCT cars, the engine will be turning and the hub will slightly slip, but the timing, the sprocket itself will stay in place. So the hub will turn like that, and that means the crankshaft spun, but yet the timing and timing chain for the top end of the camshafts have stayed in place, which is where you get a crank hub failure. You can completely damage an engine, or if you're lucky on a failure, it will just spin a tiny bit, it will come up out of spec, you'll get camshaft faults. Best case scenario, the hub will slip and you'll get a fault come up, say in drivetrain, you'll plug it in, you get camshaft, crankshaft alignment faults, and it'll be out of spec. Then you can do the crankshaft mod or the 4-pin fix. But worst case scenario, it spins ridiculously and you're completely out of timing. You destroy the engine because the pistons have smashed into the valves, and it's a whole nother ball game. This is the replacement, the fix, the crank hub 4-pin solution. This is completely different to that because this has got a floating sprocket like we've just gone through. This is machined out of one piece, so there's nothing to slip. This is completely one piece. There's 4 locating pins on the back of this sprocket. on the back of the hub, sorry. So what we do is we bolt this to the front of the crankshaft, which is like a guide. Bolt goes through. This gives us 4 holes where we can drill straight into the crank. Those 4 holes we drill into the crank then line up to these 4 holes on the new crank hub. Hub slots in and it physically cannot spin in that crank. Sprockets can't turn, everything is fixed in one place. So these are good for 1,000+ horsepower once these are done.